You've probably heard this one before, like, don't vaccines have mercury in them? Isn't that dangerous? And yeah, it would be if it was true. Some vaccines, mostly older versions of the flu shot, whenever we require a multi-dose vial, they contain a preservative called thimerosal. But here's the thing, thimerosal isn't made from the shiny metal elemental mercury that you're picturing. Nope, instead, it comes from something called ethyl mercury. There's multiple different types of mercury: elemental mercury, ethyl mercury, methyl mercury, which is the type we find in food. The reality is our bodies handle ethyl mercury really well. We have specialized enzymes in our liver specifically designed to help flush it out. It clears it out fast, really fast. And the fully developed blood-brain barrier of an adult doesn't have that much uptake of ethyl mercury. As it turns out, the human body, we're pretty good at dealing with most foreign substances in small quantities. And this is a tiny amount. Now, just how tiny? Glad you asked. One annual flu shot results in so little ethyl mercury uptake that eating a single serving of salmon, something we all consider very healthy, has 3.8 times the amount of mercury getting into the brain. That gets even worse when we talk about tuna. A tuna sandwich, 15.8 times the amount of mercury getting into the brain. How the amounts we are talking about are so tiny that if you eat just one potato a week, then annually you're putting the same amount of mercury exposure into your body and into your brain that the annual flu shot would. Yeah, that's right, potatoes. I don't hear the anti-vaxxers screaming about potatoes. But seriously, context matters here. The mercury amounts we are talking about are so incredibly tiny and something the body is more than equipped to deal with. In fact, you would need 6,557 flu shots in a single year to reach even the low end of unsafe levels of mercury. That's 18 flu shots a day. A day. Now, a super important point in all of this is that fully developed adult humans have a great blood-brain barrier that help prevent the uptake of too much of this ethyl mercury into inorganic mercury in the brain. But what about infants and kids? The reality is that all research indicates that it would still be entirely safe for them. But as an extra precaution, in the 2000s, we actually began removing thimerosal from childhood vaccines. However, it's also important to note that studies since then have proven that it's safe and that thimerosal and inorganic mercury buildup in the brain do not cause autism. Let me repeat that. Thimerosal and inorganic mercury from vaccines do not cause autism. In fact, we deem that it's so safe that many countries outside the US have actually started to add thimerosal back to childhood vaccines. So the bottom line here is, yes, vaccines do contain a small trace amount of ethyl mercury, and any exposure to ethyl mercury, whether in your food or your environment, can result in some level of inorganic mercury in the brain. However, these amounts are so tiny and something that the human brain gets exposure to on a constant basis that is actually incredibly safe. We're well equipped to handle it, and that it has no impact. So the next time you hear absurd arguments from an anti-vaxxer, you can remember that there's more danger in eating a tuna salad sandwich than there is in getting your annual flu shot. At the end of the day, vaccines are safe, effective, and one of the best inventions humanity has ever had. So get your flu shot and maybe cut down on the spicy tuna rolls.